in Minnesota where a Facebook post, someone posted on Facebook calling the school's hall monitor, quote, mean, right, which I know is pretty harsh language, but she had to surrender her account information to the school administrators with a police officer standing over her.
If a speaker is coming to campus for the purpose of agitating, cases of speakers who post images of students on screens in order to intimidate or humiliate those students, that has no place on a university campus. That's not an intent to communicate, that's an intent to intimidate.
He said, this objectionable expression is obscene, it's painful, it's unpatriotic. But I believe Americans gave their lives in many wars to make certain all Americans have the right to express themselves, even those who harbor hateful thoughts.
With journalism, it's been really trying to encourage people to go after things that they're interested in and things that they, want to talk about, because at the end of the day, students are the best reporters, because even just being around other students, so you hear people talking about things, and in their own way, they're reporting on things, right? They're telling their friends about, hey, look, this new thing happened, or this happened, and did you hear about, So when students are able to take that kind of chatter and then all those little reportings that are happening around them and say, hey, I have an idea from that, and I'm going to cover that, that's something that's great. But you do need to put a little bit of, hey, go for it into it. So yeah, it's enormous.
One of the really cool student free speech things that we did last year was the walkout. So basically, and I'll tell you some of the process that we had. I met with a whole bunch of kids, and we talked about what was important, and I let them decide how they wanted to do a lot of things within the constraints that we could make. And the number one constraint that I had was, it's got to be safe.
Oh, yes.
And so that was one that some of the kids were like, no, but I want to do this, and I want to do this. And I said, well, we're being told by others that they can't protect us if we go outside. So that's my line in the sand. Because that would be something that you never want to put a kid in harm's way. Not that I really think that it would have been, but when we're told, hey, you know what, we can't protect you if that happens. Okay, well, how can I then be confident that you're protecting at the end of a school day or a school coming in, and just kind of special circumstances, heightened tension at the time of last year. But that we went out to the field house, and it was student led. I thought it was really powerful.
Currently, Illinois is one of the states that the New Voices Act applies to. The law in place, journalists in public schools and colleges are free to report without being censored or facing any form of consequences for their writing.
Of course, students do not have complete freedom of speech. The First Amendment prevents the government from infringing on an individual's rights. And while this is the case for public schools, private schools aren't branches of the government, so they don't have to abide by the principles in the Bill of Rights. Even public school officials are allowed by the courts to regulate certain types of student expression, such as anything that is arguably lewd or slanderous.
In Illinois, we have what's called the New Voices Act. So the students in a school have the right to choose the content of their school newspapers, making sure that they follow a few legal requirements, reporting the truth and making sure that at the end of the day, they're also being ethical. So by saying that they're being ethical, just because it's something that they're allowed to do legally, it might not be the right thing to do. So when we talked about following a code of ethics in addition to meeting the laws required, those things would require minimizing harm, making sure that the things that we're stating are true and accurate, and being respectful of those in the community. Also acting independently and being transparent and accountable for the actions that they take as a journalist.
Maybe this is a good thing. Free speech should have its limitations. What is considered hate speech or free speech is subjective, so by allowing all forms of free speech on school grounds, you're also allowing bullying to occur on campus. In addition, protests will always run the risk of getting out of hand. The universities may be held accountable for any damages.
I appreciate free speech. You know, those of us that run for office, we run for office on the basis of being able to speak freely. But it's another thing to agitate. It's another thing to foment. And it's another thing to attack.
Although some Americans may feel that the First Amendment is harmful when left unregulated, as it does not prevent hate, speech, or violent upbringings, we believe that the First Amendment demonstrates what it is to be American because it ensures that one can voice his or her opinions freely without being condemned by the government, and reflecting America's past to create a government run by the people.